Yes, Ben Fletcher's rejoined us with possibly the least surprising breaking news of the afternoon, Fletch.
Indeed, good afternoon, chaps. Yet to have official confirmation from Goodison Park, but talkSPORT understands that Frank Lampard has paid for Everton's recent woes with his job. We understand Frank Lampard has been removed from his post as Everton manager. He leaves the club second bottom in the Premier League without a win in the competition since October half-term, I think, off the top of my head, that win over Palace. So the likes of Sean Dyche, David Moyes in the running, Marcelo Bielsa for the vacancy, which we understand has just been created at Goodison Park. Yet to be confirmed by Everton, but it is our understanding that Frank Lampard has been removed from his position as Everton boss this afternoon, chaps.
Yeah, I don't think it'll make any difference. I don't.
Well, I mean,
really
more tellingly, I was talking to a mate of mine who's a big Evertonian, and he felt exactly the same way. He said, look, he's made a few errors along the way, but he's not the problem.
No.
And
I feel for him, but he did such a good job his first year at Chelsea. When he had that transfer ban, he had to use the young kids. And he did really, really well, but since then it's kind of been difficult.
Yeah, there must be that feeling amongst Everton fans. Hopefully we'll catch up a little bit later on, that feeling of whoever comes in.
But they've tried every type of manager. They've tried the Allardyces and the Benitez, and now they're talking about Dyche, and they've tried Marco Silva, and they've tried Lampard. They've tried all sorts. It's just not worked.
Well, they need a red Adair looking at their league position. Alex Crook rejoins us, our transfer guru, of course. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. As you said there, probably the least surprising news of the day, but talkSPORT does understand that Frank Lampard has this afternoon been sacked as Everton manager. 3 wins from 20 Premier League games this season. No team in the division has picked up fewer victories in that time. It was a year ago this month that Frank Lampard was appointed Everton manager. You could say that he did well by keeping them in the division last season, but the league table suggests no real tangible progress has been made. I understand what you guys are saying. I think he has been hamstrung by the club's financial predicament and by poor decisions that have been made at boardroom level in the past. I still think that Everton squad, man for man, is probably better than where their position in the table suggests. It was pointed out to me earlier, they've won 1 game in 14 matches, and they pretty much have kept with the same central defensive pairing. So maybe that's a stick you could use to beat Frank Lampard with. But the big question now is, who really wants this job? Because they haven't got funds to spend in this transfer window. We know that Arnaut Danjuma is about to arrive on loan from Villarreal, but that is just a loan deal. They're going to have to be creative with their business because of mistakes they've made in the market in the past. I don't think Everton, as big a football club as they are, and I mean this with no disrespect to an institution in terms of English football, I don't think this is a particularly attractive job for anybody.
No, it's a difficult job, no question.
It is, I mean, you do wonder if they can generate some cash. There's been some talk about Newcastle and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's not been happening for him. Maybe he needs a fresh start, but I'm sure Evertonians will say, yeah, that worked out well with Richarlison, letting him go, didn't it? But, I mean, if they could generate some cash and bring in some new... I mean, they have signed a player. Arnaud Danjuma's come in, a player you know from Bournemouth, Alex.
Yeah, but that's a move that comes with risk attached. I mean, you have to ask yourself why Villarreal are willing to let him go out on loan with no option or obligation to buy. He's a very talented player, but I think he needs the right manager to really get the most out of those talents. You mentioned Calvert-Lewin. There was definitely interest from Newcastle in the summer, but obviously he's been injured more than he's been fit this season. Jordan Pickford maybe is another player that they could raise funds from selling. I think there'd be uproar, even more uproar among the Everton fans if that happened. The one player that I think could be sold for decent money this month is Anthony Gordon, who's on Newcastle's list as well. And I think they're almost going to have to sell a player to allow the new manager, whoever that may be, funds to regenerate the squad. But it doesn't get any easier, does it? Both of Everton's next 2 games live on talkSPORT. They've got Arsenal, the runaway leaders, at home a week on Saturday. Then the small matter of a Merseyside derby. So it's going to get worse, arguably, for Everton before it gets better. And if you look at the bottom of the table, I think it's really difficult for those 3 teams in the relegation places, Bournemouth and Southampton as well. Wolves have invested big this summer. They're just above the dotted line, this January. I don't see West Ham going down. I think they're too good. Leeds maybe could be dragged into trouble. Leicester, I think, have got too much attacking talent. Nottingham Forest have pulled themselves clear. This is a huge job now to keep Everton in the Premier League. Do they go down the tried and trusted route, the likes of Sean Dyche? Does he want to go back in to such a baptism of fire, if you like, or do they maybe go down the foreign route? Nuno Espirito Santo has been mentioned to me this morning. Or do they go for a fan's favourite like Duncan Ferguson or Wayne Rooney? These are the conversations that will be taking place. And as I am told and as I understand it, I don't think the Everton board at the moment have a definitive answer as to who they want their next manager to be.
Thanks, Alex. That's Alex Crook there. The news that Everton have parted company with Frank Lampard. No official word, no picture on the website.
I'll give it to Mike Parry.
Well,
he seems to know a lot
bold.
about Everton.
And no club statement sign yet on the website with a corner flag and a picture of Gladys Street in the distance. But let's chat now to a man we often turn to on Everton. We'd love to talk to him in a more sort of upbeat moment, but we rarely get the chance these days. He's comedian, podcaster, friend of the show, Sam Avery. Hi, Sam.
Hiya, guys.
Yes, again, not massively surprising this. I mean, it's funny, Alex just threw Big Dunk in, and I just wonder about right man at right time. I don't know, look, it would be high risk.
He always gets the crowd going. He always gets the team going.
I mean, you've seen that. Remember back in the day when Everton nearly went down, the old Graham Stewart goal, sometimes that place, when it's rocking Goodison, it's a fantastic crowd. They could be a 12th man, but you've got to give them a manager to get behind, I think.
Yeah, honestly, like the Everton crowd aren't that hard to get on side. You just got to run around the pitch. That's all we're looking for. And at the moment, there's a lot of players against West Ham. They just seem to be walking around the pitch on Saturday, and it was just the whole situation is such a mess because Everton don't seem to have any identity. There's no structure in place. There's no kind of passages of play. There's no style that we adopt. So when a manager leaves, you can't really look around and think, well, let's get X, Y, and Z in because they can fit the structure that's in place. We just have to kind of go for short-term replacements. And I honestly don't know what names are there that we can talk about, with any credibility that could come in and make this team better. It's just, we're all so broken up here. Honestly, It's just so grim. It really is. It's like, I think I read a stat that the last time Everton were relegated, Winston Churchill was still Prime Minister. The last time we won a game, I think Liz Truss was Prime Minister.
It might be true.
Sure. So it's bleak.
Are you keen on the old boy route? Because Wayne Rooney has been another name mentioned, and look, emotionally that would be great, and it would galvanise the fan base and all that.
Well, I think he did a good job at Derby.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'd answer the call given the chance. Although he's got a contract, isn't he, in DC United? But you think that's the way, or do you want someone with a bit of professional distance who looks at it and comes at it dispassionately?
I honestly don't know. I mean, the romantic in me says Rooney comes in and takes the team and we stay up and all of that. But, I mean, he did a great job at Derby with a lot of constraints as well, with all those, they had the transfer ban, they would dock points and all of that sort of stuff. So he can handle himself with his back against the wall. But I just feel the romantic side is, it's like with a young player when you blood them and you bring them in. You want to bring them in when you're 2-0 up against the Championship team in the League Cup fourth round. You don't want to bring them in when you're 4-0 down, which is what Everton are in the situation at the moment. So I just don't have any faith in the board that we've got appointing the right manager for the next 6 months or however long they last, because we're just, there's so much apathy amongst Everton fans now, and it's kind of, we've gone past the anger now, and we're almost at this point where we're just like resigned to defeat. And maybe that'll change as a new manager comes in, and we can scrape a couple of points off the board. But we all feel so low. It's really, really depressing.
Do you think he wasn't getting enough out of the players? I know there's more to it than just what he was doing as manager, but do you feel he wasn't quite at it, wasn't quite doing the job he could have done with that squad of players? I
think definitely you can start to see that over the last 3 months. There's been players that started the season really well, it really tailed off very dramatically. His tactical awareness, I think we all like Frank Lampard, but he's not been great tactically. His substitutions are very slow, and he often, the other team making full use of the 5 subs. He's often like 1 or 2 late in the game when it's already gone, and there's extra strikers on the bench, albeit younger players that he didn't bring on Saturday when we're 2-0 down, chasing the game. So you just, I don't know. It's not been a good experiment with Lampard all in all. But it is. I am a bit sad that he's gone, because he just seemed like a nice fellow. He wants the best for the club, but it's just not worked.
And Anthony Gordon, I wonder if he had his head turned by teams like Chelsea who are after him in the summer, because he hasn't quite been himself, has he? He hasn't made the progress that you'd expect from last season.
He's been dreadful. He's been absolutely dreadful.
Fair enough.
To the point where none of us wanted him to go, and because he was playing so well, and then he stayed, and then he's been dreadful, and everyone's like, well, we should have got 50 million for him, and maybe we'll move on. Talk about Newcastle, eyeing him up, but it's just it's hard to thrive in a culture, in a situation where losing is just the standard, and that's what Everton has become now, where there's no standards, and we're all, especially when it's a cliche, innit? But the motto of Everton is nothing but the best is good enough. And, finishing 10th used to be sort of a defeat for us, and I'd love to finish 10th now. That'd be amazing, which is a horrible sentence to say.
Yeah. Well, we can hear your disappointment, Sam. We're going to have a chat with Peter Reid in a moment if you want to keep listening and see what Reid's got to say. But good to talk to you. Appreciate you coming on at short notice. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much, fellas.
There we are. Sam Avery, I think, pretty much summing up the feeling of the Evertonians. They just feel like it's a bit of a hopeless cause at the moment.
Well, it's not surprising, is it? They're beaten down, worn down by it.
Yeah.
It's a long time since they've been sort of mid-table, isn't it?
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.